I had just left my daughter's parent-teacher conference when Elena sent me the video that changed everything. Emma's teacher had smiled when I walked into the classroom. "She's doing well," she told me. "Her grades are strong. She participates. She helps the other children." Then her expression changed. "There is one thing I wanted to ask you about." She reached across her desk and handed me a sheet of construction paper. Emma had drawn 2 houses. One was small and blue, with a woman standing beside it in a military uniform. The other was larger, with a man and a little girl standing in front of it. A thick black line separated the 2 homes. "What is this?" I asked. "Emma drew it last week." Her teacher folded her hands. "She also asked me a strange question." My stomach tightened before she even said it. She asked, "If my mother has to live somewhere else, do I get to choose to live with her?" For a moment, I could only stare at the drawing. Emma was 11 years old. She worried about tests, soccer practice, and whether her friends would sit beside her at lunch. She should not have been worrying about where her mother would live. I forced a small smile. "I'm leaving for a 6-week training assignment in California next month. She may be nervous about that." "That could explain it," her teacher said. But she did not sound convinced. Neither was I. I promised I would speak with Emma that evening. Then I tucked the drawing into my folder, thanked her teacher, and walked toward the parking lot. The afternoon sun hung low over Fayetteville. My uniform jacket felt too warm across my shoulders, but I did not take it off. I was due back at Fort Liberty for a logistics briefing. I had spent almost 20 years learning how to keep moving when something felt wrong. So I started the car. I had barely reached the highway when my phone began vibrating in the cup holder. Once, twice, then again. Elena Morales. Elena had worked for our family for 10 years. She had watched Emma grow from a toddler into a sharp, stubborn little girl who loved science books and hated peas. Elena rarely called while I was driving. She never sent several messages in a row. I waited until traffic slowed, then glanced at the screen. The first message said, "Do not call your husband." The second said, "Watch until the person who walks out last." Below the messages was a video, 4 minutes and 17 seconds long. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. I called Elena immediately. She answered on the first ring. Her breathing was shallow and uneven. "Elena, where are you?" "In my car." "Where?" "At the end of your street." I checked the mirrors and moved into the right lane. "What happened?" "I went back for my blood pressure medicine. I left it in the laundry room this morning." Her voice dropped. "There were cars outside the house." "What cars?" "One belonged to Miss Carroll. One I did not recognize. And Natalie's car was parked behind the garage." Natalie Reed. My closest friend since college, Emma's godmother. The woman who had sat beside me at my mother's funeral and held my hand through 2 military deployments. What was Natalie doing at my house? "I don't know." Elena swallowed hard. I did not go inside. I checked the side camera from my phone. I felt a cold pressure spread beneath my ribs. "Can they see you?" "No." I drove away before anyone came outside. "Is Emma there?" "No." The answer came quickly. Then Elena went quiet. "But her passport is." The traffic noise around me seemed to disappear. "What did you say?" "I saw the blue document folder on the dining table. The one where you keep Emma's passport and birth certificate." A truck passed on my left. The rush of air shook my car, but my hands remained steady. Years in the army had trained my body to react before panic could take control. Confirm the danger. Protect the vulnerable. Preserve the evidence. Do not rush into an unknown situation. "Elena, do not go back." "I won't." "Do not call Aaron." "I understand. Send me the original video, not a shortened copy." "I already did." I looked ahead and saw an exit sign. I took it without signaling until the last second. The ramp led toward an old gas station that had been closed for years. Faded red letters still hung above the empty pumps. I pulled behind the building where the highway could not see me. Then I turned off the engine. For several seconds, I sat without moving. My daughter's drawing lay on the passenger seat. 2 houses, 1 black line. My phone rested in my palm. I opened the video. The camera was mounted above the kitchen doorway, angled toward the living room. Aaron stood beside the coffee table, my husband of 16 years. He wore the pale blue shirt I had bought him for our anniversary. Beside him stood his mother, Carol. A third man stood near the dining table. I did not recognize him. He wore a white button-down shirt and carried a leather pouch with a metal notary seal inside. A laptop sat open on the table. Beside it were several folders, printed photographs of our house, and what looked like property documents. Aaron walked toward the hallway, Then he removed a small brass key from his pocket. My breath stopped. The key belonged to my home office. 3 months earlier, Aaron had told me he had lost it. He had apologized and offered to replace the lock. I had told him not to worry. Now I watched him unlock my office door. He disappeared inside and returned holding a stack of military records and a sealed bank envelope. Carol pointed toward the table. "Put those with the rest." The notary opened one of the folders. Aaron signed something. Then the hallway door opened again. Natalie walked into the room. I recognized her before I saw her face. She wore the camel-colored coat I had helped her choose last Christmas. Aaron crossed the room and kissed her. Not quickly, not nervously. He placed one hand against her back and kissed her like they had done it many times before. Carol stood 3 feet away. She did not turn. She did not look shocked. She simply checked her watch and said, "Finish this before Rebecca comes back." My stomach turned, but I did not close the video. The affair was the first betrayal. It was not the reason Elena had told me to watch until the end. The notary packed his seal and left through the front door. Carol followed several minutes later. Aaron carried boxes into the garage. Then Natalie stepped outside last. She was not holding her purse. She was carrying my blue document folder against her chest, the folder containing Emma's passport, her birth certificate, her medical insurance records, and every document someone would need to move a child without her mother. Natalie stopped beside Aaron's car. The microphone barely caught her voice, but I heard every word. "Once she leaves for California, we won't need her permission anymore." Aaron smiled. Then he opened the trunk. I paused the video. My hands had begun to shake. Not from fear. From the effort of holding myself still, I downloaded the original file. I saved one copy to my phone. I emailed another to my personal account. Then I uploaded the third to a private cloud folder Aaron did not know existed. Only after all 3 copies were safe did I search for Dana Whitmore's number. Dana was a family law attorney another officer had recommended years earlier. I had never expected to need her. Her receptionist answered, "Whitmore Family Law. My name is Rebecca Lawson. I need to speak with Dana immediately." "Is this regarding a divorce?" I looked at the frozen image of Natalie holding my daughter's passport. "I think my husband is preparing to take my daughter out of the state." There was a short silence. "Please hold." Dana came onto the line less than a minute later. Her voice was calm and direct. "Tell me exactly what you saw." I explained the video, the notary, the documents, the kiss, the passport folder. Dana did not interrupt. When I finished, she asked one question. "Are you certain Emma's passport is still inside that folder?" I looked at my daughter's drawing on the passenger seat. 2 houses, 1 line separating them. Then I looked back at the screen. "No," I said quietly. "I'm not certain anything in that house still belongs to me." Dana Whitmore's office sat on the 3rd floor of a brick building across from the county courthouse. By the time I arrived, she had already watched the video twice. She did not pause when Aaron kissed Natalie. She did not comment on Carol standing nearby. Instead, she froze the image of the man beside the dining table. "That is a notary seal," she said. Then she advanced the video and stopped on the blue document folder in Natalie's arms. "Your daughter's passport." She moved forward again and enlarged one of the papers on the table. It showed the outline of our house, including the garage, bedrooms, and property boundaries. Dana leaned back. This was not a secret meeting for an affair. What was it? A document preparation meeting. The answer made the room feel colder. Dana pulled a yellow legal pad toward her. "We need to find out what they were preparing." She told me to open every financial account I could access. Our joint checking account looked normal. The savings account did not. Money had been moving out for 9 months. $5,000, $12,000, $18,000. The amounts were small enough to resemble ordinary investment transfers. Together, they totaled almost $148,000. Every transfer ended at the same company, Lawson Property Services. The business was registered to Carol. "My mother-in-law does not run a property company," I said. Dana wrote the company name down. "She may not need to." A second search showed a pending home equity loan against our house. The application had been started but not completed. Then I logged into Emma's school portal. Natalie Reed had been added as an authorized pickup contact 3 weeks earlier. My emergency contact address had also been changed. It no longer listed Fort Liberty. It listed Aaron's office. I stared at the screen. "He is replacing me 1 record at a time." Dana did not answer. She was searching our shared cloud storage. Several minutes later, she found a hidden folder labeled Training Documents. Inside was a draft petition for emergency custody. Aaron claimed I was frequently absent because of military duties. He described me as emotionally unstable after deployment. He wrote that I suffered from stress episodes and had agreed Emma should live with him during my 6-week assignment in California. A second file listed an address in Nashville. A third contained a draft listing agreement for our house. Dana placed the pages side by side. The plan became clear. Aaron intended to move Emma to Tennessee while I was training. He would sell the house. The money would cover the debt from a failed real estate project. Then he would argue that Emma had already settled into a new school and should remain with him permanently. The affair was only the surface. He was preparing to remove me as a wife, a mother, a homeowner, and a financial decision-maker before I came back. Dana looked directly at me. He is not waiting for the marriage to end. She tapped the custody petition. He is preparing to prove you never truly belonged in this family. I returned home at 6:30 that evening. Aaron was standing at the stove, seasoned with salmon. He smiled when I entered. How was the parent-teacher conference? Emma is worried about me going to California. He turned the fish in the pan. Children overreact. The answer came too easily. I set my keys on the counter and looked toward the hallway cabinet. The blue folder was back in its usual place. After dinner, Aaron went upstairs to take a shower. I opened the cabinet. Emma's passport was still inside. So was her birth certificate. For one brief second, relief loosened my chest. Then I noticed the pages. The passport had been returned slightly crooked. The birth certificate was upside down. A faint line of scanner dust crossed the plastic cover. Someone had copied every document. I photographed each page. I recorded the position of the papers and the marks on the folder. Then I returned everything exactly as I had found it. When Aaron came downstairs, I was sitting at the table finishing my tea. He kissed the top of my head. I did not move away. Silence was no longer surrender. It was concealment. Over the next 3 days, Dana and I built protection before retaliation. I contacted Emma's school and added a verbal security code to her record. No pickup contact could be changed without speaking to me directly. Dana filed a notice concerning Emma's passport and requested that no replacement travel document be issued without review. I froze my personal credit. My military salary was redirected into an individual account. The bank received a formal preservation request for every transaction, login, device record, and transfer connected to our joint accounts. Dana hired a forensic accountant. She also brought in a digital examiner to review metadata from the family computer. We did not empty the accounts. We did not change the locks. We did not confront Aaron. Every ordinary routine continued. Breakfast, school drop-off, dinner, old television shows after Emma went to bed. At home, I was still the wife who knew nothing. At Dana's office, I began building a battlefield map. We compared my duty schedule with the bank records. The first transfer occurred during a 24-hour logistics exercise. The second happened while I was inspecting a storage facility on base. The largest transfer was made during a night shift when Aaron knew I would not check my phone. The pattern continued through all 9 months. Every movement of money matched a period when I was either on duty, in a secured building, or away for military training. Aaron had not chosen the dates randomly. He had used my service schedule as cover. Then the digital examiner found the document that changed the case. It was a new power of attorney carrying my signature. At first glance, it looked genuine. The signature was mine, but the document was not. The examiner compared it to an old power of attorney I had signed before an overseas assignment years earlier. The new file contained the exact same pen stroke, the same hesitation in the first letter, the same tiny ink mark beneath the final line. Aaron had copied the signature from the expired document. Metadata showed the new power of attorney had been created on his laptop. Our home scanner had processed it at 9:47 one evening. At that exact time, I had been inside a restricted warehouse at Fort Liberty. My access card record proved it. Dana studied the report. He did not just move money behind your back. He manufactured permission. That night, I sat beside Emma's bed. I did not mention lawyers, passports, or court filings. I only asked one question. Do you think I am going to leave you? Emma looked away. Then she climbed out of bed and reached underneath it. She pulled out a small purple suitcase. Inside were shirts, socks, 2 books, and the stuffed rabbit she had owned since she was 4. Dad told me to pack. My throat tightened. For what? He said, when you go to California, we might move to Nashville. Who helped you choose these clothes? Aunt Natalie. Emma still called her aunt. That hurt more than I expected. Dad said you would be too busy to come with us. I wanted to cry. I wanted to tell Emma everything. Instead, I pulled her into my arms. No one gets to decide your life without talking to you and me. Are you leaving? No. I held her tighter. I am not leaving you. The next morning, my phone rang before sunrise. Carol's name appeared on the screen. I answered without greeting her. She did not apologize. She did not ask how much I knew. She said only one sentence. Aaron used my name to do something I never agreed to. Carol chose a diner nearly an hour from Fayetteville. It sat beside a 2-lane highway, surrounded by pine trees and empty farmland. When I arrived, she was already waiting in a booth near the back. A cup of coffee sat untouched in front of her. So did an old phone, a thick company folder, and a stack of printed messages. Carol looked older than she had 3 days earlier. "Sit down," she said. I remained standing for a moment. "Dana knows I'm here." Carol nodded. "She should." I slid into the booth across from her. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Carol pushed the company folder toward me. "Lawson Property Services is in my name." "I know." Her eyes lifted sharply. "You already found it?" "We found the transfers." Carol closed her eyes. "Aaron told me you were preparing to divorce him. He told me you were going to take the house, empty the accounts, and move Emma onto the base." I stared at her. "You believed that?" "I believed my son." The answer was honest. It was not enough. Carol continued. "He said the money needed to be moved temporarily. He called it asset protection. He told me the company would hold the funds until the divorce was settled." "And the home equity loan?" Her fingers tightened around the coffee cup. "I did not know about that." She opened the folder and removed a letter from the bank. Lawson Property Services had guaranteed a real estate loan worth more than $200,000. Carol's electronic signature appeared at the bottom. "I never signed this. Aaron used your company. He used more than that." She picked up the old phone. "I gave him this phone when I upgraded last year. He returned it 2 weeks ago because he said the battery was dead." She unlocked it and handed it to me. He forgot it still synchronized with my messages. The conversation between Aaron and Natalie began nearly 8 months earlier. Some messages discussed Emma. Others discussed the house. Then I found the one Carol wanted me to see. Natalie had written, "What happens to your mother after the house sells?" Aaron answered, "She won't be necessary anymore." Natalie asked where Carol would live if the company became responsible for the debt. Aaron replied, "That is not our problem." Carol watched my face. "He planned to leave the loan in my name." "Yes. He was going to use me the same way he used you." "No." I placed the phone on the table. "He had already used you." Her eyes filled, but I felt no satisfaction. Carol had helped him open my office. She had watched him kiss Natalie. She had stood beside documents designed to separate me from my daughter. Being betrayed by Aaron did not erase what she had done. She reached for another set of messages. This conversation had taken place the night the false power of attorney was created. Aaron had written, "Use the signature from the old authorization." Carol replied, "Is that legal?" His answer came 1 minute later. "Rebecca won't discover it before she leaves the base." Another message followed. "Once she is in California, everything will already be filed." I read the exchange twice. This was not an assumption. It was intent. Aaron knew the authorization was old. He knew I had not signed the new document. He had planned the timing around my military assignment. "Why are you giving me this?" I asked. Carol looked down at her hands. "You are not helping me because you suddenly care about me." "No." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I am helping you because I finally understand that my son will sacrifice anyone to save himself." She agreed to turn over the phone. The company records, the bank notices, every message she still possessed. She also agreed to testify, not in exchange for forgiveness. Dana made that clear when we met later that afternoon. "Cooperation may reduce Carol's exposure," she said. "It does not erase it." Carol nodded. "I understand." Dana gathered the evidence into separate folders. Then she looked at me. "We are not stopping Aaron yet." I frowned. "We have enough to challenge the documents." "We do." "Then why wait?" "Because right now, we have messages showing what he planned." Dana closed the folder. "I want him to confirm the lie under oath." 3 evenings later, Aaron placed a stack of papers beside my dinner plate. Emma was upstairs finishing homework. He smiled as if he were asking me to approve a family vacation. "These are just refinancing documents." I did not touch them. "For the house?" "For the investment project." He pulled out the chair beside me. "It will lower our monthly exposure before you leave for California." The phrase monthly exposure sounded rehearsed. "What do you need from me?" 2 signatures. I turned the first page slowly. The paperwork gave Aaron broad authority over the house and several joint accounts. It also referred to a temporary relocation agreement involving Emma. I looked up. "You included Emma in a loan document?" "It is not really about Emma. Then why is her name here? Aaron's smile tightened. It is standard language. I closed the folder. Send it to my lawyer. For the first time, his expression changed. Your lawyer? The legal office on base reviews financial documents for service members. It was not a complete lie. Military legal assistants could review certain paperwork. Aaron knew that. He leaned back. That could take weeks. Then it can wait. He studied me for several seconds. Then his smile returned. Of course. He picked up the folder. I was only trying to make things easier. I know. That answer reassured him more than it should have. When I refused to sign, Aaron moved to his second plan. 4 days later, Dana received notice that he had filed for emergency custody and permission to relocate Emma. His petition claimed I had already signed a written agreement. According to Aaron, I had later changed my mind because I was emotionally overwhelmed about leaving for training. The deposition took place the following week. Aaron arrived in a gray suit with a leather portfolio under one arm. He looked relaxed. His attorney began with questions about our marriage, my military career, and my upcoming assignment. Then Dana placed the relocation agreement in front of him. Mr. Lawson, where did your wife sign this document? At our dining table. What date? The 14th of June. Who was present? My mother and Natalie Reed. Dana glanced at her notes. Did Captain Lawson sign the document herself? Yes. Did you watch her sign it? I did. Was she under pressure? No. Did she appear to understand what she was signing? Completely. Dana asked the same question in 3 different ways. Each time, Aaron gave the same answer. I had signed the agreement at home on the 14th of June. Carol and Natalie had witnessed it. Dana allowed several seconds of silence. Then she placed my duty schedule on the table. Captain Lawson began a 36-hour logistics exercise at 6 that morning. Aaron looked at the document. She may have come home briefly. Dana added my access card records. They show continuous entry inside a restricted facility until the following afternoon. She placed a security image beside them. The timestamp showed me inside the Fort Liberty warehouse less than 10 minutes before Aaron claimed I had signed the agreement at our dining table. His attorney shifted in his chair. Dana was not finished. She introduced the metadata report. The document was not created on the 14th. She pointed to the highlighted line. It was created 3 days later on your laptop. Aaron cleared his throat. That could be when I saved the final copy. The home scanner processed the signature at 9:47 that evening. Dana looked toward the door. Carol entered carrying the old phone and the company records. Aaron's face changed. Not dramatically, just enough. His jaw tightened. His eyes stopped moving. Dana displayed the message on the conference screen. Use the signature from the old authorization. Below it was Aaron's reply. Rebecca will never know. The room became completely silent. The case was no longer about adultery. Aaron had now placed himself under oath while defending a forged document. He had concealed marital assets, used an expired power of attorney, moved money through his mother's company, attempted to relocate a minor using invalid paperwork, and falsely described my military service as abandonment. Dana folded her hands. Mr. Lawson, do you still wish to state under oath that your wife voluntarily signed this document? Aaron looked at his attorney. His attorney did not answer for him. The family court hearing took place 2 weeks later. The courtroom was not crowded. There were no reporters. No audience waiting for a scandal. Only the people whose decisions had shaped Emma's life. Aaron sat beside his attorney. Donna sat beside me. Carol waited near the back with the company records in her lap. Elena sat 2 rows behind us. Emma's teacher was there. So was the forensic accountant who had traced the missing money. Judge Miriam Hale entered shortly after 9. She was a small woman with silver hair and a voice that required no effort to control the room. The hearing began with Emma's teacher. She explained that I attended parent-teacher conferences whenever I was in the area. When duty prevented me from coming in person, I joined by video or sent detailed emails. Did Emma ever tell you that her mother had abandoned her? Dana asked. No. When did she begin asking where she would live? After she said her father had talked about moving. Aaron's attorney stood. Children misunderstand adult conversations. The teacher remained calm. That is possible. Then she added, but Emma was specific. She believed her mother would live somewhere else while she moved away with her father. Elena testified next. She described returning for her medication, the unfamiliar cars, the camera feed, the folder containing Emma's passport. She did not call Aaron a criminal. She did not claim to understand the documents. She only explained what she had seen. Why did you send the video to Captain Lawson? Dana asked. Elena looked toward me. I did not know exactly what they were doing. She paused, but I knew they did not want Mrs. Lawson to see it. The courtroom lights dimmed. The video appeared on the monitor. Aaron unlocked my office with the missing key. He removed my military files and bank envelope. The notary arranged the documents. Natalie entered. Aaron kissed her. Carol told them to finish before I returned. Then Natalie walked out, carrying the blue folder. Her voice came through the speakers. Once she leaves for California, we won't need her permission anymore. No one spoke when the video ended. The forensic accountant testified that almost $148,000 had been transferred from our accounts. The money had moved through Carol's company before being used to support Aaron's failing development project. He also confirmed that the pending home equity loan would have placed the house at risk. Dana introduced the false power of attorney, the metadata report, my base access records, Aaron's sworn deposition, and the message instructing Carol to use my old signature. By the time Dana finished, Aaron no longer looked at me. Judge Hale reviewed her notes for several minutes. Then she removed her glasses. The request to relocate the child outside North Carolina is denied. Aaron's attorney began writing immediately. Temporary primary custody will remain with Captain Lawson while the divorce and financial investigation continue. My shoulders loosened for the first time that morning. Neither Mr. Lawson nor Miss Reed may remove the child from the county without written authorization from the court or Captain Lawson. The judge continued. The proposed sale of the marital residence is suspended. All documents relying on the disputed power of attorney are declared invalid pending further review. The transferred marital funds are to be traced, preserved, and restored where recoverable. She looked toward Aaron. The evidence concerning forgery, asset concealment, and false sworn statements will be referred to the appropriate authorities. Aaron's face lost what little color remained. Judge Hale ordered him to pay most of the legal fees created by the forged documents and concealed transactions. Natalie was removed from every school pickup and emergency contact record. She was prohibited from unsupervised contact with Emma during the temporary custody period. Carol was ordered to cooperate fully with the financial investigation and return any remaining money held through her company. She accepted the ruling without argument. She also understood that cooperation did not restore her place in Emma's life. That decision still belonged to me. Judge Hale closed the folder in front of her. Military service is not abandonment. Her voice remained even. The harm to this child did not come from her mother's duty schedule. It came from adults who allowed her to believe her mother was preparing to leave her. Aaron turned toward me as people began gathering their papers. His voice was low. You are destroying this family. I looked at him. No. I stood. I am stopping you from finishing it. 6 months later, I returned to Emma's classroom for another parent-teacher conference. Her grades were still strong. She still talked too much during science. But the drawings had changed. Her teacher handed me a new picture. There was only one house. A military vehicle stood in the driveway. 3 women stood beneath the front window. Emma, Elena, and me. There was no black line between us. She seems more settled, her teacher said. She has not asked about choosing between her parents in months. I looked at the drawing for a long time. Then I folded it carefully and placed it inside my folder. I remained at Fort Liberty. I completed the California training assignment as planned. Whenever the schedule allowed, I flew home for the weekend. Emma learned that distance did not mean disappearance. Aaron saw her under temporary supervision while the divorce and financial cases continued. The house was no longer for sale. The accounts were protected. I changed the lock on my office and repainted the walls. Not because the old color bothered me, because I needed the room to feel like mine again. Elena continued working with us, but fewer days each week. I helped her establish a retirement account and kept her income unchanged for the first year. When I explained the arrangement, she shook her head. You do not have to do this. You protected my family when I was not there. Elena took my hands. No. She smiled. I only helped you see who your family really was. Carol sent letters. More than one. Some were apologies. Some were explanations. Some simply asked whether Emma was doing well. I kept every letter. I did not answer them. Peace did not require me to pretend the damage had never happened. One afternoon, I left Emma's school and drove toward the base on the same road where Elena's video had reached me. My phone vibrated beside me. This time there was no warning. No camera footage. No shaking voice. Emma had sent a photograph of a test marked with a bright red grade. Her message said, I knew you would come home. I passed the abandoned gas station where I had stopped that day. I did not slow down. My hands remained steady on the wheel. That video did not destroy my family. It showed me who had already left it long before I knew. For years, I believed I had to prove I was a good mother. In the end, I learned that the people who truly loved me had never demanded proof. Justice was not the day Aaron lost control of the house. It was not the frozen accounts or the judge's ruling. Justice was the day my daughter stopped being afraid that her mother would disappear.